My name is Kevin Kroitor. I appreciate the opportunity to share my story with you this morning. I came to know the Lord at age 16 back in 1996. I had grown up actually in a Jewish home, but never really had a whole lot of belief or knowledge about who God was. And when I was 16, a friend of mine invited me to church. I'd never been in a church before, and I was reluctant to agree to come, but when I finally did, I was truly grateful. Thought that I'd be judged for who I was and the things that I did in my own life, and instead it was the exact opposite. I was reached out to by the people in the church community. They shared love with me and invited me in, welcomed me, and it was there that I first heard the gospel. And it really challenged me. I heard the message and I had to know whether this was true or not. I opened a Bible for the first time in my life and began to pore over its pages, trying to understand who God was and who I was in relationship to that God. And a couple days after that, my friend who had invited me to church invited me to the small group meeting at the same church. I'd never been to a small group meeting, just like I had never been to a church. And it was there that I had an opportunity to ask the questions that have been stirring in me since I started thinking these things through. And was really just I encountered God there, really for the first time. And I remember at the end of that meeting, the leader of the small group came over to me and asked, "Kevin, where are you at? Would you like to become a Christian and follow this God?" And I remember saying, "I don't know, I still have questions." And she sat there patiently and said, "Well, what are the questions?" And I sat there for a couple minutes, which felt like a couple hours, and nothing else came to mind. And she said, "Well, that settles it, doesn't it?" And it did. And right there in that small group at that church, I put my faith in the Lord. And that began a really exciting journey, which has led me to here today, and led me from there to Bible college, to ministry in the church and parachurch organizations. And throughout all those times in my life when, no matter where I was, it was in small groups with other believers that God really discipled me, shaped me, held me accountable to His truths, and helped me to grow most in my faith. My wife and I just recently moved to Port St. Lucie about a year ago. Shortly after coming down, we visited Sunlight Community Church, and we're really blessed by the community that we saw here, by the teachings of Pastor Scott, by the worship, and we knew that this was the place that we wanted to call home and start worshiping the Lord. One thing I missed, though, was the fact that there was no, real place for us to plug in the kind of small group that we were used to. Pastor Scott said, "Hey, why don't you start one?" And me, my wife, and Jim Winkie decided, you know what, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we have a nice, thriving small group that is just blessed with great fellowship, great accountability, great prayer, and teaching that's based on the sermon from the weeks prior. So it gives us a great opportunity to use the sermon as a jumping off point and really apply Scott's teachings and the Bible's teachings to our life. So we encourage you to come out and join us. We meet every Wednesday here at the church at 7 p.m. Thank you very much.